Hello, Jay.
Hello, Gary.
Wow, you are up.
As opposed to down, out,
Down,
in, down, down. Yeah.
Crazy flavors. Are you well?
Yeah, I'm pretty well considering. The outside world is a complete and utter shambles, but that's it's not really my fault. So I'm just getting on with my own stuff. I'm ignoring all of the stuff outside in the outside world. I'm focusing on things like watching terrible films with you. That seems to be top of my list of important things to do.
Oh, you want to watch a terrible film, do you? Well, I hope you've got one up your sleeve.
Well, yes. Now I'm going to spring a film on you that you don't know anything about, and
I don't. And where did this come from?
this is a suggestion from one of our school friends, Chris,
Yeah.
who suggested a terrible film, and I did a bit of research based on his suggestion, and I think it ticks quite a few of our boxes, quite frankly.
I haven't spoken to Chris for a while, but I think he knows his bad films. I've got a feeling he's going to have good bad taste, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. And also, because it's a third party, we can now blame him.
Oh, this is going to be good.
If it's terrible bad, as in terrible, difference between terrible bad, terrible good. And also, we've had a very bad run of luck, so who knows?
Yes, we deserve a good bad one. Okay, hit me with it.
Okay, so we are going to watch. I can't even say it. The title. I wish I'd given this to you to do. Here we go. We're going to be watching 2003's Tiptoes.
Okay.
Tiptoes, also known as Tiny Tiptoes. Oh, well, I'm so sorry. I imagine they took it very seriously when they were making this film, but the premise and the title or titles render it laughable.
As proved.
Yeah.
No.
So if you didn't quite catch that is Tiptoes, 2003. For you and the avid listeners, we'll do a little research and rundown after we've watched it, and we'll tell the audience about it. But for now, you're just going to go in blind, okay?
I've literally never heard of it. I don't recall it being on any lists of bad films that people have made. And don't tell me anymore. I mean, what's always intriguing is when we do a more modern film. It's one thing to have a film from 1982 that's not great, but from 2003.
Yeah. Now, this may be one of those films which is more like it was a bad idea rather than an excellent, entertaining watch. But I think we need to have watched it. The premise is too bizarre for me.
I don't know what mindset you're in to call a film Tiptoes, unless it's going to be a new kids bunny animation or something.
No, I mean, I will say that the alternative title, Tiny Tiptoes, is much more on the nose rather than
it just sounds like a toddler dancing group.
Yeah.
Meet at the village hall at 10:30 every Thursday. Don't tell me anything, but I'm guessing it's nothing like a recorded one of those.
No, it's, from what I can tell, nothing like that.
This is going to be an adventure. Okay, let's do it.
Carol and Stephen's life together was perfect.
I've got to get going.
Right this second. Hey, baby.
Hey, sweetie. I love you.
There's one small problem.
Hi, I'm Ross. I'm his brother. We're twins.
Are your parents,
Yeah.
It can tear them apart.
I think you could have let me know that everyone in your family's a midget.
They're not midgets, Carol. They're dwarfs.
Whatever.
Or bring them together.
Hey, welcome. I'm Steven. Oh, there you are.
This is Stephen's father, Bruno, and his mom, Kathleen. And over behind the bar is Stephen's brother, Rolf.
Hi. You could have prepared us for this, don't you think?
If you embarrass me, I'll never speak to you again, so just get it together.
How's everybody drink?
I think maybe I'm pregnant.
When the going gets rough, it's only the size of your heart that counts.
Would it really be that big of a deal if our kid was a dwarf?
You knocked up this great girl and you didn't tell her that her baby's probably gonna be little. I'm not like you.
We are so cute and cuddly. Don't discriminate against us.
You said these parties got a little wild. I never expected this. There's sure a lot of midgets around here.
You better back off, Goldie Hawn. My man can do what he wants to do.
I'm ready for an adult relationship.
What is this man doing in your bedroom?
A walk down the aisle
Steven's he's a very lucky guy. Just hope he's smart enough not to screw it up.
is just a beginning.
There'll be rough patches, there's no doubt about it.
Canal Plus and Langley Productions proudly present command performances from Kate Beckinsale, Matthew McConaughey, Patricia Arquette, and in the role of a lifetime, Gary Oldman. Tiptoes.
Oh, Jay. So, yeah. So we just watched Tiptoes from 2003. A film I was not expecting, and I probably wouldn't guess from the title either. Initial reactions?
Insane.
Yeah, okay. Well, let me try and summarise the 90-minute feast we just chowed down on. Sadly, I'm trying to précis what is already a précis, because many key moments of the film are just disappear. They just move on to the next thing.
Yep.
So we have, quite the cast. We have Rolf, played by Gary Oldman, and Stephen, played by Matthew McConaughey. They're twin brothers. Not far into the film, Stephen's wife reveals she is pregnant. Matthew McConaughey is a bit uncertain about this. He's worried that the baby will inherit something that afflicts part of his family, his dwarfism. Oh, did I not mention? Gary Oldman plays a dwarf. Twin brother of Matthew McConaughey, who is not a dwarf. Anyway, his wife Lucy, played by Patricia Arquette. I'm so sorry. No. Sorry, played by Kate Beckinsale. Is also worried about this, so she confides in Rolf, Gary Oldman. Rolf takes her to some of his circle of dwarf friends, who tell her everything will be okay, and they talk about things they've gone through in their life. They decide to bring both sets of parents together, which they haven't clued them in that also Steve and Rolf's parents are also dwarves. And this starts to be awkward, and they appear like they're going to blurt out something really offensive, and instead they're going about, is it okay? We didn't want to mention this, but can the wedding be Jewish? And so they think this is okay. They cut to the wedding for about 5 seconds. 5 seconds later, the baby is born. They cut to about 2 months later. They're arguing. They split up.
They split up 20 minutes before the end.
Yes. They've got to really, bang this ending away. Kate Beckinsale goes to Rolf's house. Matthew McConaughey comes to make up, but they agree to separate. She stays with Rolf. They kiss. The end. That's it. It's not a roller coaster.
No, it's not a roller coaster. However, watching what is going on screen is quite a roller coaster in and of itself.
It's quite a ride. you look at some of the cast. I mean, I never heard of this film, so it must have sunk without some trace. But you've got Gary Oldman, Kate Beckinsale, Patricia Arquette. There's someone else in it, but I'll come back to that. I was thinking, nobody says, "Oh, I hate that Gary Oldman. I can't wait. I can't watch anything with him in." Got Kate Beckinsale, who was kind of person of the moment back then. She was doing a lot of movies. And Patricia Arquette, for the sort of mid-90s to mid-2000s, could always be relied on to do a certain performance. And you've got quite a number of dwarf cast in there. So you've got guy from The Dream in Twin Peaks. I don't actually know his name.
You got the little person, the lady who was in Total Recall, the original.
Mm-hmm. Debbie Lee Carrington, also in Return of the Jedi, as Ewok, who cries over fallen Ewok. I
really didn't know that.
Yeah, I remember that from an interview with Star Wars magazine about 25 years ago.
Geek alert! Yeah, we're both geeks.
Shut up, man. And Peter Dinklage. In obviously a pre-Game of Thrones role, but he seems to have beamed in from another film altogether. I initially thought he was Spanish. It turns out he was French. Maurice walks around with a terrible, terrible accent. Says "merde" a few times just to hammer the point home when I didn't get it. He has a relationship with Patricia Arquette, which is kind of interwoven throughout the film as a very tempestuous relationship. I don't know what it has to do with anything else we were watching.
Well, it has nothing to do. It has literally nothing to do with any of the plot or any of the characters.
I think that was an attempt to be like the humorous side of the film, like the comic relief, the B plot. But the tonal shifts were the absolute crunch of a learner driver's gears.
My God. Yeah, this film. I'm a little bit speechless, actually. This film has really come out of left field. I think it's safe to say that neither you or myself have quite seen anything like this film.
No.
It's, yeah, I was basically in hysterics for about 2/3 of this film at just what was in front of me on the screen. I wasn't really paying attention to the script. When I did, it was awful. The plot was barely there, but just seeing Gary Oldman shuffling around on his knees with a pair of shoes on his knees as a little person.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the strangest decisions in filmmaking I've ever seen, in that you cast an actor of average height to play a dwarf. Really
opposite another dwarf, Peter Dinklage.
Yeah.
They share scenes.
Well, many of them,
Yeah, I'm struggling to describe this film. It is absolutely awful. Everything about it is awful. The directing is terrible.
Let's just go back to Gary Oldman for a minute, because I can't quite get off. I mean, Lord of the Rings, and they talk about how they get so many different effects to get the height thing right, which is partly digital, partly physical, making double-sized props, half-sized props, putting things closer to the frame, further away, all sorts of things. For him, they do one of two things. They either three. They either literally get him to walk around on his knees, like you're a toddler, with shoes on the knees. Or they get him to sit inside a couch with fake
They get him to sit inside a couch, and they put fake floppy legs in front of him that flop over the couch,
Yeah, it was a
like
bit Kenny Everett. Or you have him walk across a field, and you digitally blur out his legs, like it's the undercarriage of Luke's land speeder in A New Hope, like Vaseline across the lens.
Oh, it's so bad. This film is so bad.
This whole
Every time
film
I was laughing
of poor judgment.
Every time that Gary Oldman appears, I just couldn't stop laughing. And as soon as I realised I was laughing, it's like, oh, I really shouldn't be laughing. Should I be laughing? Should I not be laughing? And I don't mean is the film a comedy. I mean, there's something deeply wrong about this film, and it feels really weird watching it. Very strange. The tone of this film is bizarre.
Yeah, the tone is probably the worst thing about this film, and then it just jars from serious to a bit sexy, really badly so, comedy to, I don't know, drama, very serious drama. And to counterpoint that, they use some of the worst music I've ever heard.
It's so bad.
Original songs.
This is the worst soundtrack I've heard for a long time. It is guff, really bad.
There's that sexy reggae soundtrack they play over a sort of smoochy love scene.
Oh God! And there's this weird party they turn up to. They drive up to this massive mansion.
Yeah, I don't remember whose that was.
I don't know why they go there, and it is populated mainly with little people, and I don't really know why. And random old people, and yeah, there's this weird like 90s funky industrial music playing, and it's a party with midgets and old people and Kate Beckinsale and Matthew McConaughey and Gary Oldman, and it's absolutely wrong. It's so wrong.
For a track, 2/3 of the way through that scene. I don't really know why.
Kate Beckinsale's got this weird hairstyle, that's like a sort of Princess Leia on speed or something. She's got these weird ears on the top of her head.
Yeah.
It's so bad.
Yeah, the film just crunches gears so badly from one thing to the next.
Yeah.
You know,
wasn't there?
Just going back to that Gary Oldman performance, I imagine, I don't know, maybe Daniel Day-Lewis turned it down.
Who signed off on this? Why did this film happen? Why did it happen?
I've no idea, but like I just said, you've got a decent cast there. And not all the shots were great, but, you know, it's well lit. And, you know, there's people, I think...
It's too lit.
Trying. Yeah, well, bear in mind I looked up that there's a director's cut that's 2.5 hours long. I mean...
What on earth has...
I'm sort of intrigued, but not enough to figure out what's missing.
So apparently, Kate Beckinsale agreed to star in this film if she would be allowed to wear her lucky hat during filming. And she certainly does.
Oh, is that beanie?
She, on a few scenes, she turns up with this bizarre flapping woolen hat that looks completely out of place. And it's apparently her lucky hat. Apparently, on her first day of filming, the producers demanded that the director tell her to remove the hat. The director refused, as this was the only reason she was in the film for a low salary.
I think she must have been just messing.
She agreed to be in the film so she could wear a woolly hat.
She's starting a new clothing range? How she's going to promote it to the masses?
Oh my God, this film is insane. Did you write down any quotes, Gary?
Of course I wrote down quotes.
Hit me with some.
Okay. The arsehole is the strongest muscle in the human body.
I've got one. I don't know if I want to say it, but I'm going to. I will pay you back in your G-spot.
Yeah, and then probably the least natural piece of dialogue I can recall, which is when, the husband and wife are in bed debating, whether it's right to keep this baby when it has a chance of dwarfism, and she says, "You have a lot of ambivalence about your family being little people." It's the least natural piece of dialogue I think I've ever heard.
Clunky.
Yes, McClunky indeed.
Oh, I've got another one. Patricia Arquette. For some reason, a bald man in a dressing gown knocks on the door of their hotel room that she and Peter Dinklage are in, and he inadvertently calls her a prostitute. The man does, and she runs out of the hotel room, and she spends the next about 2 or 3 minutes in the background of the shot screaming, "You're a prostitute! You're a prostitute!" whilst hitting this man repeatedly, whilst the other cast are trying to do dialogue.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, her character, I don't know where she's from, but she just rocks up and does whatever she wants, I think, in this film. That's what it felt like.
It felt like, we said as we were watching it, it felt like huge chunks of scenes were just like literally made up on the spot. It felt like some weird college play,
yes,
in like an improv group. It was bizarre. I mean, you got some heavy hitting actors there, and it was so shoddy.
Do you know what we're missing? One person though.
Who?
Warwick Davis.
Yeah.
Film needed more Warwick Davis.
He should have been in this.
Could have been there.
Yeah, I mean, they had everyone else.
So I also need to pick on you for something you said during the film that destroyed me for a few minutes.
Yes.
Where the dwarf doctor comes in to the new family. They've just had their baby.
Yeah.
And he's talking to them, giving them advice. And she says, "We read all the books you recommended," and you responded with what?
The Hobbit.
You are going straight to hell for that one.
I apologise profusely whilst trying to not wet myself with laughter. I'm so sorry. Oh, God.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, God. I think it was out of exasperation from this film. At one point, someone says, "Are you mad at me?" "No, I'm just bewildered." And that's exactly the feeling I had watching this film. It was bewildering.
More natural dialogue.
Yeah. Clunk-a-rama. Yeah. Apparently, this is... they sometimes screen this as the director's cut, and
for who?
It was shown. Get this! It was shown at the 2004 Sundance Film Festival.
No. Robert Redford stood up and said, "Yes, we'll have some of that, please."
Tiptoes.
There was a 7-minute standing ovation.
On Tiptoes.
I didn't even mean to tee you up for that.
God.
Do you know, I haven't spoken to our friend Chris for some years now. He moved away, and there's no way on earth I'm speaking to him ever again.
I know, he's dirtied everything with this recommendation.
I feel dirty.
Yeah, I did. I remember watching halfway through and just saying to you, I can't believe that these actors got out of this film unscathed. It is damning. It is not just a blot on your CV. It is a huge, disgusting, rotten stain.
Well, I'm sure Christopher Nolan watched this and said, "There's my Jim Gordon."
Yeah. If I was Peter Dinklage, I would try to burn every single copy of this film because he comes out terribly in it.
He really does.
And he's the only sort of decent actor of little stature in the whole film. It should have been his.
Yeah, no one else had given much to do. They should have given him the Gary Oldman role.
Yes.
So he could actually act through it, you know? But there's this long-running debate, isn't there, with disabilities, or maybe it's missing limbs or blindness. Should you give those roles to people who have that affliction?
Yeah.
And, you know, that's an ongoing debate. But it seems like there's a very small pool of people you can pick who can meet these criteria. So why not give them the opportunity? And it's just baffling to me that the other actors around didn't say, should we not switch roles, you know?
A lot of this film is baffling to me. That is just one small point of it. Apparently Peter Dinklage actually defends this film, the casting of Gary Oldman, apparently. I've not heard him talk about it, but I would struggle to defend anything about this film. Also Gary Oldman and Matthew McConaughey being twins. I mean, even if Gary Oldman wasn't meant to be a midget, they look nothing like each other. Gary Oldman's like at least a decade older, isn't he?
Yeah, I think you might be right.
This film is insane. I stick with my initial impression. This film is insane. The person who made it is insane. The producers who signed off are insane. Our friend Chris, who said we should watch it, is insane. We're insane for watching it, but
hey, it's
now no one else has to.
It's given us another episode of a podcast, I guess. So there's an upside.
Yeah, it's an experience. We've come out the other side.
Jay, would you recommend people watch Tiptoes?
Do you know what? I think I would, actually.
Okay, a rare recommendation from you.
I think I would, because it is like unlike anything you would ever have seen before or afterwards, which is a good thing. You don't want to see anything else like this. If you know what you're getting going in, which you didn't, I'm afraid, Gary. So sorry about that.
Yeah,
it's quite entertaining. I mean, we've seen some films recently that have been long and pretty dry, and this was basically entertaining, wouldn't you say?
Just about. I mean, it's on the edge there. It's on the edge.
Yeah, it's sort of tiptoeing up to the unentertaining level.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I'm not sure I can recommend it myself. There's too little of interest.
I'm questioning myself.
There probably is one, but I'd like to just see a supercut of the Gary Oldman walks along stuff, or shuffles along, I should say.
Well, there's the 2.5-hour director's cut knock out there somewhere. I'm sure there's loads of just shuffling down hallways. Gary Oldman looking like Sid Little from Little and Large for you 80s UK listeners.
However, Matthew McConaughey does not look like the deceased Eddie Large.
Oh God, this film.
This was a film, yes.
I feel wrong.
Well,
is what it should have been called.
Thanks for listening, Jay. No thanks to you, Chris, for recommending. If you've seen this film or have anything to comment on what we've watched, go find us on Twitter and Instagram at We Watch Bad Films, and we'll see you next time for another bad film. Bye, Jay.
Goodbye.